He stands alone in a cluttered bay. The room smells of oil and metal. He does not panic. He breathes in. He listens. Something in his face loosens and then sharpens. Focus comes like a tool sliding into place. That precise change matters, not because the object he faces is valuable, because the way he meets that small failure reveals the way he meets life. Repair becomes a lens. It shows how he tolerates friction, how he orients to truth, how he chooses to stay. Working with machines is a form of thinking. It is not abstract reasoning. It is a conversation between skin and steel. Your fingers translate tiny differences in texture into decisions. Your wrists learn a rhythm. Your eyes read heat the way others read tone. These signals are not words. They are loops of perception and action. Scientists call this embodied cognition. Our brains learn by doing. Neural circuits that control movement also predict outcomes. Each successful repair tightens those predictions. Each surprise when a bolt snaps or a bearing grinds creates a prediction error. Fixing that mismatch trains attention. It sharpens pattern recognition in ways words cannot reach. There is also a chemical truth. When you solve a tactile problem, you get a clear feedback pulse. A sound changes. A valve stops leaking. Your brain registers a match between intention and result. Dopamine signals affirm the connection, not in the way a social like does. This is a low brightness, steady reassurance. It is the slow burn of competence rather than the flash of approval. Over time, these small confirmations build a quiet confidence that is less about boasting and more about trust in one's capabilities. That trust reshapes emotion. When overwhelmed, the mind often loops on what might go wrong. Hands-on work offers a different trajectory. It gives a bounded arena where cause and effect line up clearly. That clarity breaks rumination. It allows stress to be metabolized into purposeful action. This is why some men, when grief or anxiety peak, reach for a toolbox, not to avoid feeling, but to reset a damaged sense of agency. The machine does not comfort with words. It answers with consequence. That answer can steady a trembling sense of self. Mentorship plays a pivotal role in this formation. Rarely does a person become skilled without another person's presence. A father who points without taking over. A neighbor who lets a young hand try again. These interactions are often quiet. They are not full of speeches. They contain small rituals. The offered wrench, the patient correction, the shared cigarette between attempts. Those gestures transmit more than technique. They hand over a stance toward difficulty. They teach that failure is instructive and that staying is possible. They provide a secure base from which a novice can experiment without being shamed. Because the learning happens in relationship, the skill embeds into identity. The first successful repair becomes a landmark memory. The machine is the stage. The mentor and the feelings are the plot. That scene sticks because it resolves a test. I tried. I persisted. The thing worked. Identity is partly narrative. These moments give a man evidence for a story about himself. I can make things right. That narrative matters in crises. It will be the script he consults when things outside the garage also begin to creak. This way of knowing also cultivates a particular humility. When you have learned that manuals are maps rather than truths, you learn to ask the object itself. You stop elevating distant authority over local evidence. This is not arrogance. It is epistemic pragmatism. You prefer sensory verification. You weigh what the machine shows against what others claim. That posture encourages skepticism in a healthy form. It trains someone to test. It trains someone to be accountable to results rather than rhetoric. There are social consequences too. Skill becomes a form of relational currency. People rely on him. They bring a broken lawnmower or a stalled truck. They expect competence. That expectation can be deeply meaningful. Being relied upon creates belonging. It also creates obligations. A man who fixes can be celebrated for his usefulness. He can also be burdened. Knowing when to accept responsibility and when to set a boundary is a lesson not found in any repair manual. It is learned at the edge of generosity and depletion. Healthy practice includes asking for help and refusing to convert every relationship into a project. We live in a time that often denies this learning. Digital life supplies answers, but not the feel of a bolt. It rewards speed and impressions. It rarely demands steady effort over many small failures. The consequence is generational. Young people can know the theory of repair. They can watch a tutorial and recite steps, but they miss the slow accretion of haptic knowledge. They do not learn to hold multiple cues simultaneously. They do not experience the bodily patience that comes from waiting for a stubborn part to yield. That absence is not a moral failing. It is an opportunity to design alternatives. Maker spaces, community workshops, apprenticeships in trades, all offer spaces where adults can learn embodied mastery. The important feature is honest feedback, a system that punishes shortcuts and rewards fidelity to process. A setting where the outcome is clear and hard to misinterpret. You can cultivate that in small ways. Fix a bike tire, rebuild a carburetor, patch drywall. Choose tasks with visible endpoints. Keep the project small enough to complete. Celebrate the sensory confirmations, the seal that holds, the creak that disappears, the engine that steadies. There is also a psychological nuance to distinguish. Repair can be a coping strategy. It becomes avoidance when it is used to escape feeling rather than to restore capacity. Look for clues. If projects multiply to fill the space where intimacy or decisions used to be, repair may be a refuge rather than a resource. If you refuse to stop working when relationships suffer, the pattern has shifted. Healthy repair is chosen. It is shared when needed. It helps one return to life, not retreat from it. Practically, cultivating this kind of knowing requires attention. Slow down the cursor that jumps from problem to solution. Learn to name sensory differences. Keep a small notebook. After a repair, jot what felt different. The pitch of a bearing, the warmth of a housing, the resistance at a bolt. Ask a more experienced person to show you rather than tell you. Invite correction without defensiveness. Let failure be data, not indictment. Over time, those notes and corrections become the scaffold for embodied insight. There is also value in remembering the effective anchors. Who was there when you first made something work? Who handed you the wrench? Those faces matter because they root skill in relationship. Recount the scene to yourself. Feel the pride without show. Anchor the competence to a memory. That connection will make the work hold meaning beyond function. Finally, return to the original quiet. The machine is not the point. The moment the noise stops and the work remains is the test. What do you choose then? Walk away with a small triumph and a lesson, or turn away before the quiet has told you anything? The courage to stay is modest. It is the willingness to let hands, senses, and time assemble an answer. It is the daily decision to collect evidence from the world, not just from other people's words. That habit changes how a man meets uncertainty. It teaches him to tolerate ambiguity and to translate it into action. It trains his body to notice the unspoken. It gives him a place where truth is blunt and honest. If you want some of that steadiness, make room for tactile failure. Invite a teacher. Choose a bounded task. Stay until the machine tells you what changed. In the end, the value is not in the tool set. It is in what you decide about yourself while you listen to a stubborn part. Staying long enough to discover the answer is a small courage. It reshapes how you step into the next unknown.